Hey guys, it's Sean. This is my post-race analysis summary of Ironman California 2024. So Ironman California was held in Sacramento. This was I think it's its third or fourth year, but in the past, they've never had good weather at all. The first year was canceled due to a bomb cyclone. That's what they call it. And then the 2 years after, each year was rainy and windy the whole time. But I do have friends that did it before and they really enjoyed it. So that's great. I chose this race because it was near to the end of the fall season. I wanted this because overall, I think I had a pretty long race season. It started back in April at Ironman Texas. And then I did Muskoka 70.3 in July. And then I did New York 70.3. Oh no, then I did the Barrie Sprint Triathlon in August. Then I did New York 70.3 in September. And then I also got married in this same time frame. And then I was like, since I did an Ironman way back at the beginning of the year in April, let's see if I can just throw in one more. And I did California. So for the first time ever, I did two full Ironmans in 1 year. For me, that's pretty crazy. Thinking back, since I only started this in 2018, never having swam before or riding a bike outside before in general. So I taught myself how to ride a bike back in 2018. I still have a lot to improve on bike handling skills wise, but so much progress has happened and I'm really happy. So I'm going to go into my post-race analysis right now. Sacramento is a very beautiful place to have this race. I really liked it. The hospitality was great. Lots of food options around old Sacramento downtown area. I stayed at the Sandman Best Western on Jaboom Street, which is close to the practice swim area, but you still need a little, maybe like a 23-minute walk to get to, and then over the bridge to get to the ballpark, which is where the transition zone is and where we rack our bikes. Maybe in the future I'd get something closer to old Sacramento, like the Delta King Hotel, which is actually a boat, which is kind of cool. Next time. This is old Sacramento downtown. It's pretty cool. It's very lovely. But yeah, there are some slightly sketchy areas where there were homeless people, but it didn't really seem to bother anyone. So everyone just was good for that. This is the river that we're going to be swimming down. That's the Ziggurat, a government building. And then that is the swim exit right here. And we run up this ramp to transition zone. Pretty cool. Weather is great. So let's get into the post-race analysis now. So how did this race go compared to my expectations? Well, because this was such a long season, I knew I was going into this race more fatigued than ever before. But I believed in the training. I had a good build up to this race. And then there was Ironman 70.3 New York about 4 weeks ago, which I had a personal best in by 20 minutes. So that was a very motivating sign for me. I followed pretty much all the training to a T, like I would say like 98% there. And so my expectations, my goals for this race or any Ironman in general is I eventually want to go under 12 hours to sub 12 hour overall, and hopefully one day sub 4 hour the marathon run after. I have done in an open marathon at the Toronto Waterfront Marathon, I have done a 3 hour 34 marathon. So I am capable of doing a sub 4, but can I do one after a 3.8 kilometer swim and a 180 kilometer bike? That is the question that I'm still trying to figure out. So yes. So what was my strategy for the swim, bike, and run? So the swim, I'm really comfortable with my swim now going into this race. After New York 70.3's really choppy and windy swim and salty swim, this one was going to be a lot better because it's fresh water and it's a downriver assisted swim. So that was excellent. I did this swim in about an hour 5 seconds, which is like almost a half an hour. That's then, because usually I do it in an hour and 30. So this was awesome. Nice cool waters. It was about 15.5 degrees Celsius. So for the locals or maybe people from the hotter areas, this was cold for them. But for me from Toronto, from the Canada area, this was perfect water temperatures. And yeah, so the current is real. Once we joined so we start in the Sacramento River, I think, or the American. There's two rivers, and we start in one, and then it combines, and then the flow gets even faster. And there's one like tricky area where there's a red buoy on the turn, and apparently a lot of people, because of the strong currents, they weren't able to make that red buoy. But I just aimed like slightly to the right of it, so as soon as I passed it, I got the current down. So that was really good. So my strategy for the swim was just to be like calm and chill, and just because I knew it was going to be a good swim time regardless. So I just stuck to that, kept good form, and it was great. For the bike, my strategy was to hold between 140 to 155 watts for the whole thing. I would have loved to get under 6 hours, but there was strong headwinds on the second loop. We were all lucky on the first loop. There was only, I think, about a 7 kilometer or a 7 mile per hour headwind going out. So that wasn't too bad. But then on the second loop, it became 23 miles per hour, 20 to 23 miles per hour. So that was significantly harder. That was kind of like almost as bad as Ironman Texas headwinds, PTSD. But I made it through. It seemed like I overbiked or overpowered the first loop, and then that got me kind of drained for the second half, which I definitely felt. I need to work on my personal needs station area because that took a lot of time. I think if I didn't have to waste so much time in personal needs, like if I learned how to change my nutrition on the fly and possibly didn't have to stop to use the porta potty, then I could have definitely got under 6 hours for that bike in total. So, but I'm getting there. So I averaged around, I think it was like a 29.5 kilometers per hour for the full 180 kilometers, which is not bad at all. The tricky parts I think that got me were, yes, it is a flat course, but there is the headwind, but also there was 2 segments of like 5 to 8 miles that were like super bumpy and not pristine road at all. It felt like a jackhammer. I think that used up a lot of people's energy there. And you just had to be really, really alert. I saw a few crashes there, and on the Facebook group later, I heard even more horror stories. So just hope everyone's okay. Everyone needs to pay attention to those sections, and hopefully in the future the local government paves those roads, and then otherwise the bike course was beautiful. Went through the wineries. There were some forested areas. You could see mountains. It was pretty great. I think I'd definitely do this race again. But yeah, hopefully they pave those sections. And then for the run, I would have really liked to go under 4 hours, but I know that will probably take a few more years. So basically, if I could have ran a 4 hour 30, I could have went under the 12 hours because I ran 4 hours and 45 minutes. So that's like the 12 minutes that I needed to go under, because my overall was 12 hours and 12 minutes, which was a personal best for me. So that was still great for my full Ironman distance, but I still want to get under 12 hours. And it was really close. Like in hindsight, it's always easy to see where you could have made that up, either in transition or personal needs, aid stations. But yeah, still working on that. Almost there to master that. So the biggest challenges of the day that I faced were the headwinds on the second loop of that bike. I think there's nothing anyone could have done about that. Like, you just have to grind through that and accept that as part of any course that has flat roads and low elevation. There will be winds regardless. So just gotta learn to do more, manage my bike power in the loop before, so I could have enough later in the game. And then I guess the biggest challenge I had all day was in the middle of the run, which I was on track for. All I needed to do was hold a 6 minute per 30 minute per kilometer pace. And I was doing that for the first, I'd say, half of the run. And then after that, I don't know what happened, but I came to like a walk, and then I just couldn't move for I was just like walking really slowly for a good chunk of it. But then in the last hour or last 10 kilometers, I was able to bring it back to a 6 minute 30 per kilometer pace. So I'm not sure what happened in that middle part, and I don't know what happened in the last part that brought me back, but I'm glad that happened. Otherwise, the run would have been even worse, and I wouldn't have PB'd that race. So I need to figure out what was going on there. Maybe it was a combination of the heat, overall training fatigue from all the races I did this year, over biking. That's one thing that I love about triathlons, and especially the full distance Ironman, is that it's such a long day. There's so many variables that can happen, and then there's always something to figure out and improve on and fix. So I think that's one of the reasons why I love this sport. My mental approach to this race was pretty much from the whole season that I've had, right? So I've been through all the ups and downs already. And basically by this point, I was like, I just want to race and get this over with and get to the off season, because I really haven't had a proper off season and full recovery block since all the way back from the end of 2023 at Ironman Florida. So my mentality into this was do the best training I can, get through this and finish my 4th Ironman, which I did. But then, on the run, I think it really hit me halfway where when I came to a really slow walk, was I remember putting my hands up in the air and being like, oh, I was so close to being on track for this. What happened? Why didn't it work out? So I'm always thinking about what could I have done differently? And, things happen. That's the beauty of Ironman. So in that dark moment, I just had to stick to my why of why am I doing this? Which is to meet the best people that I can and be the best version of myself and meet other like-minded people, which I did, which was super cool. And just seeing the atmosphere and the vibe. And luckily, running is my favorite of the sport. If running wasn't my favorite of the sport, then I think for someone where running isn't your favorite and you do an Ironman, it's going to be an even longer day. So fortunately, running is my favorite of the 3. The swim and the bike went pretty much according to plan. I just need to figure out the Ironman run, which I think I'm really close to. So I'm looking forward to that next season. Did I experience any injuries or cramping or fatigue in this race? The only real part that I noticed was on the bike, near the end of the bike as we were coming back into transition. my right calf did, or my right leg hamstring or calf did have a cramp, which was unusual because I usually don't get that in on cycling, but I just had to stretch it out a little bit. So maybe that was kind of telling for my run. I'll work on the sodium for that. And then, yeah, I guess those bumpy roads did a toll on me, because when I started the run, I felt like when I was running, my fists wanted to clamp up, because I guess I was death gripping the bike on those bumpy sections. And then so when I was running, I had to make sure I was running with my hands out to like stretch it out a bit. So I found that part kind of interesting. I don't know if that's a sign of something, but we'll work on that. What was going through my mind in the final miles of this run? Well, my goal was to make sure I made it out of the park areas, the dark, because they were dark, and I think there was only like 2 or 3 light generators there, which I definitely think they should put more in the future, because my goal was to make it out of the forested areas while the sun was still up, which I did. So I hauled some butt there, so that was good. I was happy I was able to get through that. And then once you get to the final part of the second loop, where you're actually running towards the state capitol building, that was cool because that's in the downtown area, and there's a lot of people there, and you have street lights, and then you just see like the capitol building lit up, and then you can hear the finish line announcer there echoing in the distance, so that just makes you want to run faster there. And I think that definitely helped pick up my pace a little bit. So that's what I was thinking about. I was like really happy to be closer to the finish line. What's the one thing that I'm most proud about for this race was that when I got to the 2 things. So on the bike, that actually 3 things. So I'm proud that 1, on the swim, I now know what it feels like to swim at that elite level pace. So that my swim worked out to about a 1 minute 35 per 100 meter swim, which is incredible. It's something that I'll never probably be able to do in a neutral body of water, but at least now I know what that felt like, and I'm striving to continue to increase my swim pace. And 2, on the bike, I'm really proud that I only had to stop shortly twice in the whole 180 kilometers. And on the run, I'm proud that I never gave up. I was never going to give up on the run. Once I'm on the run, I know I'm going to finish for the most part, unless I have like an injury or something. But in the dark moments, I was really questioning myself. And you always get the time where you're like, this is my last Ironman ever. I quit after this. But I got through it. And then the last 10K really brought me back up to life again. So I'm really proud I stuck to that and persevered through that. If I could change, is there anything I could change about my performance? Like overall, I think I stuck to the plan pretty good. I executed pretty good. I need to work on how I fill my nutrition bottles on the bike. So I'm going to experiment with putting all of the nutrition on the bike, so I don't need to stop at personal needs so long, or maybe not at all even. And then on the run, I would have really liked to figure out, I don't know if starting off even slower would have helped, because I didn't start off the run too hot at all. I guess some things just happen, but I need to figure out how to hold that same pace for the whole run on the marathon. Did I meet anyone interesting? Okay. So I did meet some really cool people this weekend. I met a guy from Indonesia, a guy from Germany, and that was really cool to hear their stories of how they came so far. And then I met another person, Evan, who stayed at my hotel. He's a young gun. I think he's like 20, in his early 20s. And then this was his first Ironman, and he's like a track and field specialist or something, but he crushed it. And he, for his first one, he did really well, under 12 hours. Good for you, Evan. And then I met another friend, a new friend. He's actually from Etobicoke in Toronto anyways. His name is Matt. And he earned his Nice spot at the World Championships in France next year. I was really happy for him. He's a triathlon friend, and he's also a pro wrestling fan too, so that's really cool. I have friends on both sides of the scale. I have like my triathlon friends and wrestling friends, but now I have one guy who is a friend of both. That's really cool. And I attended, and he waited at the finish line for me. He like whooped butt. Because he qualified, so that means he did really well. He finished in like 9 hours 30 minutes, and then so I totally wasn't expecting it. But when I crossed the line in 12 hours and 12 minutes, he was there waiting for me, and then he helped get my bags and the bike back. And that was really cool. Cool of you, man. And then the following day, I went with him to the awards ceremony, and then we waited to see if he would get his world championship spot to Nice, France. And he was really anxious and nervous about it. And I was making sure he was like, I know you got this, buddy, because it would have to roll down a few, and hopefully some people didn't take their slots. And everything worked out, and he got his world championship slot. So good luck, Matt, next year in Nice, France. What's next in terms of recovery and for next season? So I'm going to take the next 2 weeks lightly, and the next month off, just maybe nothing more than an hour long of workouts. I will be joining the C3 Master Swim Squad once a week on Wednesday nights. I think it's really useful to have an on-deck coach. I'd like to do more, but once a week seems pretty good right now. And because it's at night, I'm pretty sure that's going to take a little toll on my sleep, but we'll see how that goes. I need to work on my technique for sure this off season, and hopefully improve my outdoor riding skills. Maybe I'll get a mountain bike. And just practicing more how to stay in aero position on the bike, and maybe increase my FTP, my bike power a little bit. But other than that, yeah, it's pretty good. So my goals for 2025 will be a lot less than this year. This year I did 2 fulls, 2 halves, and a sprint. So next year I have 1 focused A race, which is Ironman Canada in Ottawa next August. And then my workplace's the hospital 5K charity run, which is in April. We'll see if I can try to sub 20-minute that one, but that's not like an A goal right now. So I'm leaving it up to my coach, Miranda Tomlinson, to she has like a blank canvas to paint around Ironman Canada, Ottawa, and that will be my main goal next year. Have a proper build to that, come into that really fresh with no fatigue. Maybe I'll do a sprint before just to get the feel of the motions of a triathlon, like going from transition and getting that in. But other than that, there's not going to be like all these big giant races next year. And so that's my recap of Ironman California 2024 in Sacramento. I had a great time. I would love to thank all the volunteers, all the spectators, the local community for hosting us in your beautiful city. Thank you to all the police officers, and thank you to all the race organizers for putting on a tremendous event. I'm pretty sure I'll be back. See you next time.